Good morning. Today is Tuesday, September 10th, 2024. If you see an object that was lost by another person, and you are able to try to find the person who it belongs to and to return it, then there's a mitzvah of hashavas aveda. You should return the lost object. It's a mitzvah in this week's Torah portion, the Parsha Kiseitze. Obviously, some objects that you find will be impossible to return. If there is no identifying mark on it, if there's no way to tell who it belongs to, then of course you're not going to be able to return it to them. But if there is some kind of identifying mark, if there is a way to find out who it belongs to, then it's a very important mitzvah to try to find that person and return it to them. It's called hashavas aveda, to return a lost object to its owner. And there are details about how to find the rightful owner. The Rambam says as follows, Maimonides: one who finds a lost object that obligates them to return it. Of course, we're talking about where it is possible that the owner can identify his object, must announce that he has found such and such an object, and to call upon anyone who has lost this type of object to come and give the identifying marks that will identify the object as belonging to that person, and then claim it. That's how you fulfill the mitzvah. Now, practically speaking, how do you do this? Where and how does someone make an announcement? The Rambam continues. Originally, meaning in former times, when the Beit HaMikdash, the Holy Temple, was standing in Jerusalem, and there was a mitzvah for every single Jewish person to come to Yerushalayim 3 times a year for Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot, to spend the festivals together. The entire Jewish people was there, which means obviously anybody who lost any object would be in Jerusalem at those 3 times. So, originally, anyone who found a lost object would announce his find for 3 consecutive festivals. Let's say you find it in, let's say now in September, so you would announce it this coming Sukkot in Yerushalayim, this coming Pesach in Yerushalayim, and this coming Shavuos in Yerushalayim. 3 festivals, you would come and announce it. And there was a system. When a person came to the Beit HaMikdash for the 3 festivals, there was a special rock near the Beit HaMikdash. There was a lost and find corner. People would stand on the rock and announce whatever they found, and a person had to, and so if you lost an object, you knew to go to this spot, and if you would hear the announcement made, you would be able to have the object returned to you. And a person had to make this announcement 3 times, once on each of the 3 festivals. If it occurred in the winter, it would be the next Pesach, Shavuos, and then Sukkos, the next 3 festivals. Now, please listen carefully. The Rambam continues. Mishachara Beis HaMikdash. Once the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, so we no longer have this global meeting place where every single person could potentially be at one time to hear this announcement, right? That's the perfect system to be able to try to return an object to its owner. Mishachara Beis HaMikdash, once the temple is destroyed, and we're now dispersed all over the world, and we are not gathering every single Jewish person ever. So the rabbis enacted that people should make announcements in the local synagogues. So on Shabbos, you get up and say, such and such if anyone lost such and such an object, come, if you can identify it, we want to return it to you. What do we do today? Today we use Facebook or Instagram or, however we can reach people. Now, this is very, very subtle, but it's incredible. So I want you to listen carefully to this insight. The Rambam writes, Mishachara Beis HaMikdash. Once the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, the rabbis enacted that you can't make the announcement at that spot near the Beis HaMikdash anymore. We announce it in synagogues. We announce it where people are going to hear it. If you do a word search in the entire Talmud for this phrase, Mishachara Beis HaMikdash, when the temple was destroyed, you will find that it occurs in the Babylonian Talmud 15 times. 15 times. That phrase. And each time it is the impetus for a certain legislation, a certain enactment. Because Mishachara Beis HaMikdash, when the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, it was a new reality. So there were certain rules, all kinds of different subjects, that were enacted in light of this new reality. 15 different rules. I'm not going to go through all 15, but suffice it to say that the general pattern goes like this. Mishachara Beis HaMikdash, when the temple was destroyed, Rabbi so-and-so enacted such and such a legislation. All kinds of different subjects in all areas of Jewish life and Jewish law. But the formula is standard. Mishachara Beis HaMikdash, when the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, Rabbi so-and-so enacted such and such. Same formula, except for one place. There's one exception to the formula. And that exception is our case of Hashavas Aveda, returning a lost object. This is a passage in the Gemara Baba Metzia, and the Talmud says as follows. Originally, and this is the Talmudic passage on which the Rambam Maimonides is writing his rule. The source is from here, the passage in the Talmud of Baba Metzia. So the Talmud says as follows. Originally, meaning in former times when the Beis HaMikdash was standing, one who found a lost object would come to Yerushalayim and come to the spot and announce it on 3 successive festivals. Mishachara Beis HaMikdash, when the temple was destroyed, Sheyibana bimheira biyamenu, may it be rebuilt speedily in our days, they enacted that the announcement should be made in the synagogues. Now, obviously, everybody agrees. Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, temple was destroyed, may it be rebuilt speedily in our days. Yes, it's in our prayers, we all want that. But why is it out of 15 times the exact same phrase is used? And for some reason, 14 of those times, we're not adding, may it be rebuilt speedily in our days. And one time, in the laws of returning lost objects, it's different, it's unique. After the temple was destroyed, may it be speedily rebuilt in our time. Strange, it stands out, it's odd. I want to share with you an insight from Rabbi Yosef Engel, and it is an insight that is so important for us at this moment. Rabbi Yosef Engel says that the mitzvah of Hashavas Aveda, the merit of returning a lost object, will be the merit by which the Beit HaMikdash is rebuilt. And the exile will end, the ingathering, the exiles will take place, and the Messianic era will begin. So since it is in the merit of this mitzvah, the Talmud says, if you do this mitzvah, Sheyibana Beis HaMikdash, the Beis HaMikdash will be rebuilt. Okay, it's a very powerful answer. It's not the same for the other 14 enactments. One of the enactments has to do with what days we take Lulav and Esrog. There's no such a promise that if we faithfully observe the mitzvah of taking lulav and esrog on Sukkos, we're going to be rewarded with the Beis Hamikdash being rebuilt. There's no connection. Says Rabbi Yosef Engel, this mitzvah. Why? What in the world does one have to do with the other? So listen to what Rav Engel says. There's a passage in the Talmud. This is in Masechta Makos. And this passage in the Talmud is referring to a verse in Vayikra, in Leviticus. It is a verse that we read a couple of months ago, and a verse that is very, very painful for us to read. It's talking about the exile of the Jewish people and the travails and the persecution that the Jewish people will suffer during exile. And as we know, we have and we are suffering all of these persecutions today. And in one of those verses, the Torah says, Va'avadetem bagoyim, and you will be lost among the nations of the world. Amar Rav, says Rav, the great scholar mentioned hundreds of times in the Talmud, I am afraid of this verse, because this verse seems to be prophesizing, God forbid, the doom of the Jewish people. V'havadatem bagoyim. There will come a time when we will be lost, God forbid, when we will be gone, when we will... I'm afraid of this verse, says Rav. And I think anyone who reads that passage and is paying attention to the words would be very despondent hearing these words, Va'avadetem bagoyim, and you will become lost. Amar Rav Papa. Rav Papa responds to Rav and says, no, Rav, you should not be afraid because you are not completely understanding that verse. This verse is not a prediction, God forbid, of the doom and the end of the Jewish people. Says Rav Papa, Va'avadetem bagoyim, you will be lost, you will be an aveda, you will be like a lost object. But says Rav Papa, you will not be a lost object, God is saying to the Jewish people, like the kind of lost object that is never returned. You will be a lost object, the kind of lost object where the owner is looking for the lost object and it will be returned to the owner. Hashavas Aveda. In other words, what this pasuk is actually saying, Va'avadetem bagoyim, you will be an Aveda, you'll be a lost object amongst the Jewish people, but God will never give up on us. God will never stop looking for us. God will never stop the effort to bring us back, and God will succeed at that effort. Explains Rabbi Yosef Engel, when a person fulfills the mitzvah of Hashavas Aveda, I find a wallet in the street, and I'm able to identify who it belongs to, and I return it to them. That mitzvah is an action that is a prayer, where we are saying to God, Master of the universe, I just fulfilled your commandment of returning a lost object to its owner. Now, God, it's your turn. It's your turn to return your lost object to yourself. The Jewish people. We're lost, but we can be identified. And you promised that you would look for us. You promised that you would return us to you. If I can do this for one of your children, Master of the universe, it's time for you to do it for us. Like never before today. we should use the opportunity, if we find a lost object, to return it. And if we learn about this mitzvah, to turn to God and to say, like Rav Papa said, you promised. You weren't going to give up on us. We're lost. We are more lost than we have ever been, perhaps in our lives, maybe much, much longer. But you promised, God. Just like I promise, if I find something, to try to return it to its owner, you promised to do the same. It's time, God. It's your turn. We are your lost object. And we beg you to return us now. My friends, I wish you a great day. And I look forward to seeing you soon in person.